And the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Kyle here, and it is Saturday, and you know what that means. It's time for all the toy news, action figure news of the week that interested me, that hopefully interests you, in a dynamite week of toy news this week we're going to get to. But of course, got some housekeeping to start things off with, per the norm here on the channel. Got to thank Jay'sToysAndGames.com. Use discount code Kyle, save yourself 15%, of course, for sponsoring this week's toy news. So shout out to Jay'sToysAndGames.com. If you guys are in the Des Moines, Central Iowa area, brand new opening of their brand new store in Ankeny, Iowa is this weekend, so check that one out. I am headed there later tonight. I'm actually going to film a walkthrough before they open, so shout out to Jay'sToysAndGames.com. Look for that vlog on the channel here in the next week or so, maybe even a couple of days. We'll see how that goes. So shout out to Jay'sToysAndGames.com. Of course, Patreon, we got a new month. It's February, getting closer and closer to March, which of course March will be the 5-year anniversary of this very YouTube channel. A huge video being put together as we speak right now. Special guests, giveaways, surprises. You do not want to miss that video. Going to be very, very fun 5-year celebration on the channel, and I want to give away a bunch of stuff. I'm hoping to give away 5 things for the 5-year anniversary. That makes a lot of sense to me, but we got to hit 50,000 subscribers. This week we crossed over 48,000 subscribers. So make sure you're jumping in. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do and tell a friend. Gonna be close, gonna be down to the wire. We'll give away at least one thing as part of that, but I'll give away 5 if we can hit 50,000 subscribers by mid-March timeframe or so when that video drops. So get after it if you have not. And like I said, tell a friend. Tell a friend. That's what you got to do. So there it is. But how about February for Patreon? We're going to do something special this month. First off, the February Patreon giveaway this month. Found this week. It is the Platinum Edition Christopher Reeve Superman, of course, from McFarlane Toys. Todd on the couch, you could at least gifted me this to give away. Instead, I spent my hard-earned money on it, but we will give this away on the Patreon this month. Pretty cool figure, all things considered. This will be the giveaway for the month of February, but that's not all. Anybody that signs up for the Patreon in the month of February, including current people that are part of it already, you have a chance to win this. Jazzwares Vault, Claudio Castagnoli. So if you sign up at the $1.99 level or anything above that, you can be entered to win this one. And on top of all the content, tons of content every single day on the Patreon. A lot going on and a lot of surprises to come. So check out the Patreon. 2 giveaways this month. Shout out to February. February, a very busy month. It's my anniversary. My first daughter, Elle's birthday this month. A lot going on. A lot of road trips going on as well. I was on the road this week. No rest for the wicked. That's what they do say. But let's dive into some more stuff. How about, of course, toy news? That's what you guys came here for. Let's dive into that. We did see this week, March 6th, Mattel revealed. We will get some WWE reveals on that one. Not a huge fan of Mattel revealed being right around WrestleMania timeframe. I feel like I wish that was spaced off a little bit better. Last year, they announced the Tales from the Territories pack. I think the Ted DiBiase, Ricky Steamboat Coliseum collection, I think, was announced, and maybe a retro set, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not a massive, massive San Diego Comic-Con or WrestleMania reveal, but it is a few things, that's for sure. A lot of rumors going around. Maybe a crowdfund might be announced. I don't know if they would do it right there. I would save that for WrestleMania. I think that is the time to announce a crowdfund. However, we're seeing all these other companies kind of walk away from some of these crowdfunding things. I think there's a crowdfund burnout, if I'm not mistaken. You guys chime in the comments. So it'll be interesting to see if there's rumors on that or if there's smoke around the fire. We'll see if that ends up happening. So I guess we'll stay tuned for March 6th. But we're not done with WWE wrestling news this week. Friday, up for pre-order, probably still up for pre-order right now over at Target. Our friends at Target, oh, they love me, that's for sure. The Target bill every month's out of control. Angie, looking at you. Maybe me too a little bit. Who knows? But Legend Series 26 up for pre-order right now. Of course, you got Carlito. Of course, you got to get more Carlitos out there. Kurt Angle, a heavy hitter Kurt Angle from back in the Jakks days. Love this outfit on Kurt. Can't wait to pick that one up. The Godfather, going to have to pick up 2 of these so I can get an extra pair of glasses. Oh, the struggle is real. And then the chase of this one is Superhero in Training Rosie. So we get 2 different versions of Rosie as the chase. As a whole, not really a slam dunk in that set. You would say Angle's probably the top guy in there. That's pretty easy to assume, I guess. But we've had a few Angles as of late, so I don't know how well this set will do. This could be a future long game clearance set. You got to vote with your wallet. It seems they all do go to clearance eventually, but you know, new toys, you got to get after it. It's tough, but got to get a deal. I understand that, but pre-order that if you're after that right now. We also saw this week, of course, you can get this on Ringside Collectibles up for pre-order. It is the brand new War Games Cage playset with Randy Orton. However, in stock right now is the Ringside Cage. Ringside has in stock right now. Easy for me to say. I'm getting my words mixed up. The Pete Dunne War Games Cage. So basically, you want a War Games Cage, you want to get one right now, you can get it with Pete Dunne. If you want to wait, you can get it with Randy Orton. Choose your own adventure. I will pick up one of these because I had the old one. I never got around to unboxing it. Decided, you know what, I don't need this. I'm going to sell it. But I've always wanted the War Games Cage, so I might pick up one of these two. We'll see what happens in the future. But we got another one available right now. Head over to Ringside. Use discount code Kyle. Save yourself 10%, of course. We also saw this week a little image from the upcoming WWE video game. Of course, you know me, I don't play video games. Just don't have time. One day in retirement, maybe I will. But we did see Mr. Fuji. Apparently, he is going to be in the video game. Now, once again, where there's smoke, there's fire. Maybe. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Not all the time is... you're in a video game means you can get figures. That doesn't always translate, but it's closer than not, I would say. So is there a possibility we could see some Mr. Fuji figures? There's a lot of meat on the Mr. Fuji bone. Oh, yeah, there's so much meat. Good eating on that Mr. Fuji. But you can obviously get the classic bowler hat manager. That's probably the most iconic. Yokozuna manager. You know we got to get a Yokozuna manager, Mr. Fuji. You can get an old school wrestling Mr. Fuji. I know it's a deep cut, but Jakks did it. Jakks did it. So there's a lot of options on the old Mr. Fuji. You can get the Mr. Fuji Chase or an alternate head with paint when he was at Powers of the Pain, no paint. Would love to see some of that kind of stuff. So we'll see. Fingers crossed we get some Mr. Fujis going on. And that's it for a little bit of WWE news this week. But now how about Hasbro? And I'm going to say this via the Saved by the Bell kids.
Dumb.
Stupid.
Crazy.
And what I'm saying about this one is all the clickbait videos out there. Man, oh man, I hate clickbait videos. You guys know on this channel, I rarely ever do clickbait. And if I do clickbait, it's not on purpose. But there's just, clickbait is wild. Because this news from Hasbro this week, there was an article going around basically saying, Hasbro, we're not making action figures anymore. Which people just ran with, made videos with. And the sky is falling, all that kind of stuff. And obviously, like I said, it was clickbait. It's trying to get views, trying to do that kind of stuff. But I hate how it misleads people, and then people don't even read the article to know what this understanding. It's just a whole rigmarole, and it goes on in everything, not just toys. I totally understand that. But Hasbro came out with an article, a little concerning, but not terribly concerning. The sky isn't falling quite yet. But basically saying, long story short, they're going to focus on more video games, video game properties, even a little board game properties and stuff from Hasbro. And they're not going to lean in as heavy into action figures. Now, that being said, as of right now, where we sit at this table beautifully here in February, Marvel Legends, G.I. Joe, some of those ones that are out there right now, they're going to still continue those. Those are cash cows for them. They're not going to drop those lines. They're more talking about Playmates taking over the license of Power Rangers. They're going to stop Power Rangers. They're going to give that license to Playmates. I mean, we see them give licensings to Super 7. They're going to outsource some more of these properties they own to let somebody else do it, get the money, let them handle everything. It's a pretty good business decision all in all. Not sure how the video game stuff and all that kind of stuff is going to work out. That's not my world. But it is a little bit of a shift from what Hasbro is known as, because people think Hasbro, they obviously do think toys first, at least I do. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But a lot of people making mountains out of molehills on this one. We'll see where it goes throughout the year, but obviously I think there is a changing of the guard in the toy industry. I've said that for a long time. I just don't see it. I have two younger kids. They have friends. I take the temperature on them all the time. I'm a guy with a retail background for a major company in my day job, so I like to get the temperature on a lot of different things. Of course, action figures is included, but also grocery items, things like that. And man, the word on the streets, kids just don't play with toys like they used to. Obviously, they get them for their birthday. Aunt Carol picks them up a toy and stuff, but most of the time, it's iPad-related, video game-related, things like that. So the future isn't as bright as it was for us as kids. If you're in my age bracket, I think for toys in the future, we'll see. I think they'll always be there. There'll always be somebody collecting, but will they collect like you and me are collecting right now? That's to be seen here in the decades to come, I guess. But check out that Hasbro article. It's all over the place if you really want to. I don't think it's as big a news as people are trying to make it out to be, in my personal opinion. But now we got to dive into it. We got to dive into something really, really big right here. Something really, really big. And as Rob Halford always says,
It's from Rob Halford of Judas Priest.
Step on the red, cross on the green, never take a ride in a stranger's machine, and always make sure you're burning on turbo power.
And Rob, I feel like this is what Power Town's doing to me once again. I'm the voice of Power Town, apparently, and I always tell you guys, nobody wants Power Town to succeed more than myself, but we finally got a little bit of an update this week on Power Town. Very thankful for good friend of the channel, Magnum TA. Shout out to you, Magnum. Magnum putting a post up on social media, basically showing the Matt and Brian, showing the Remcos, showing some of the properties we've already had released, and this basically said coming soon. So an update without giving us an update for the most part. However, you go over to their website, the Power Town, they finally updated the upcoming stuff. It said shipping now for Matt and Brian. It said shipping soon for Remcos, and then everything else was like March, April time frame. So fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Fool me 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. I'm not sure how the saying goes after that. Somebody can feel free to fill in the blanks. But I don't know how anybody can trust anything Power Town says at this point here, because they clamored. They said November 24th, last day to pre-order anything. Well, everything is still up for pre-order. Feel free to pre-order any of that stuff. They've sat on our money where I could literally pre-order right now and have the same figures that I had to pre-order over a year ago at this point. That's very disappointing. They took my money for a year. Yes, they gave us some free figures we already had that were just leftover figures they basically couldn't sell. We've talked about that on the channel, but it is better than nothing. They tried to make it right with the people, but here we still wait, saying November 24th, last day to pre-order. You can still pre-order. They said Remco's Matt and Brian will be in your hands in January. Here we are in February, not even a shipping notice in our emails. Now it says shipping soon, or shipping right now currently for Matt and Brian. They got them to the ports a couple of weeks back. Have to imagine these will be in our hands in February. If they're not in our hands by February, I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no idea what I'm going to do. If I'm going to lose my mind if that happens. But it does say shipping right now, and that'll probably be the rarest Power Town set of all time, just because there's no more. There was never a reopened pre-order, and that was because of Matt and Brian not allowing that to happen. So we'll see. That's going to be a very dollar-heavy set on the aftermarket. I think once people see how good these figures are, they're going to have that FOMO, and people that have extra sets to sell are going to make out on eBay, I think is what's going to happen, because it sounds like these will never be re-released. Now, everything else, fair game, I would say. But the Remcos, supposed to be in our hands in January, didn't happen. We'll see. February, I am hopeful we see these in February. I'm very worried about Chinese New Year, about the TNA and Ultra Series 2. I really think Chinese New Year will get in the way of this kind of thing. My gut tells me it won't be March, April. I've been saying that forever. I've been right every single time. One of these times I got to be wrong, so I'm hoping I am wrong. I hope it is March and April. But we'll see. But man, Power Town can't get in the way of themselves. I think they could just be, I don't know if they could take over Jazzwares AEW, but I think they could be a strong number 3 wrestling company. They just got to get their house in order, and especially communication out to the masses right there. Power Town, bring me on board. I'll hire you, get there. Nobody's going to champion your stuff more than me. These are the guys I want. I'll come work for Power Town. I'll do it for free. Well, maybe not. But I am rooting for Power Town. Everybody kind of looks to me as the Power Town guy. And even Power Town itself thinks, I guess, I live in my parents' basement. I don't, know what I'm talking about or something like that. Maybe. Word on the street. But I want them to succeed. I want them to succeed more than the average Joe. This is what I want. I just hope they can get it to us and everything goes smoothly here on out. Fingers crossed on that. But if you order Matt and Brian, hopefully in the next week or so, we'll have those in our hands. So we'll see. The Power Town keeps on going, I guess is what happens there. But now we move into more retros. And speaking of Matt and Brian, Golden Era Wrestling, of course, they're making some other figures, LOD, Steiners. We've seen those, hopefully, in our hands sooner rather than later as well. Looks like Matt and Brian and their major players gear is coming. They've really found a niche, that Golden Era, even though we don't have anything in hand yet. Found a niche with tag teams. And that's kind of different. That's kind of special. And I like their moves right there. I like the way they're playing this game. Looks pretty good. We'll see. Pre-orders to come in the future, I guess. But more Matt and Brian figures. You know Matt and Brian, they're never turning down an action figure. I would do the same thing if I was in their position. More figures, the better. That's what I would say. But we do got those around the corner. We also saw this week, speaking of course, retro wrestling, Zombie Sailor Toys. He even did a little interview with Matt and Brian over on the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast. Check that out if you missed that. But he did announce a Ryback figure. Interesting enough. And I guess when you think of Zombie Sailor, you think of more classic guys, not really current day guys. Yes, they've had the Garganos of the world. But I should walk it back. Is Ryback a current day guy? When was the last time he wrestled? It's probably almost been a decade at this point. At least it feels that way. But he does got a very vocal fan base out there. So I think this might sell okay. But we got Ryback coming to Zombie Sailor Toys. And then we saw, once again, via the Major Wrestling Figure Pod Instagram, he showed off, or they, I should say, showed off an image from Zombie Sailor Toys. It looks like Headhunters. So we're going to get Headhunter A and Headhunter B. Are we going to get those? That is a very, very deep cut. But if you were a tape trader in the 90s like I was, high school, tape trading over in Japan and stuff, you saw the Headhunters in Puerto Rico matches, IWA matches. I think they even made one appearance on Raw back in the day. Mini Abdullah the Butchers is basically what they reminded me of. But it looks like Zombie Sailor Toys getting into the Headhunter game. It's a dangerous game. I think Kamala is the top Headhunter, but we got these two coming in the future. I wouldn't expect them this year. That's my gut telling me once again. We saw Title Run Toys showing off Ernest the Cat Miller. Oh, we're going to dance like a young James Brown once again. But these figures looking very good. Once again, haven't had any in our hands to check them out yet, but we're seeing more images there. So we do got those around the corner. Our friends over at Figure Collections, of course, use discount code Kyle. Save yourself 10% at Figure Collections. We did see the 10100 WrestleCon exclusive Vlad Superfan. So a little different for the WrestleCon exclusive. Got to get the most out of your molds. We know how that goes. 10100 will be available on their website as well. So if you're after another version of Vlad, there you go. You got that one going on right there. Looking pretty good. And speaking of WrestleCon, we did unbox this week. Check out the video if you missed it. The Major Wrestling Figure Podcast. Big Rubber Guys, Dusty Rhodes WrestleCon exclusive. We did unbox that this week. Been on Patreon for a couple of weeks. I tell you, Patreon's got so much stuff. And after you see weekly purchases tomorrow, hopefully you see it, join me for weekly purchases. Bring a beverage. You know I'm bringing Monster. Monster, fueling Kyle's across the nation. Monster, waiting for that sponsorship on the channel. Gonna keep working on that one there. But weekly purchases is gonna be an all-timer tomorrow. It is gonna be a massive one. This was a crazy week for pickups. A lot of stuff, a lot of pre-orders all coming at the same time. Man, oh man, what am I going to do with all this stuff? But we'll find a way. But you Patreon members, I'm putting out 4 videos a day. You can get like 8 videos a day over on Patreon on some days. So there's a lot going on over there. Just pumping the Patreon right there. But now back to some retro stuff. We did see Rush Collectibles last week. We got to announce their new Monster Ring coming. So we'll see how that ends up going. But this week, it looks like we're getting President figures. However, with a twist, wrestling President figures. Obviously, the licensing on Presidents, they are fair use, so it's a cheap one on that end. I guess you make them kind of like the monsters. You get Frankenstein and his own take. You can get your own take on Abraham Lincoln or Teddy Roosevelt or Richard Nixon. Whoever he wants to do, maybe they'll make every single president. Now, there is presidential collectors out there. I think there's going to be some people wanting to pick these ones up. Of course, George Washington wrestling. Somebody sign up My Damn Toys. He'll pick up that one for sure. But we'll see what happens. But whenever I hear presidents like this, it reminds me of my wife, Angie. One of these days, I'll have her on the channel or maybe on the Patreon or something. It's a wild talent she has, but she can list every single president in order. It's amazing. It's an amazing thing. I always wanted to meet up with Bob Backlund because apparently if you can do that, you can get a free autograph. I'm like, we need to do this with Bob Backlund. His mind will be blown because nobody probably ever does it. My wife, Angie, it's amazing she can do that. I've challenged her. She needs to memorize the vice presidents, and she refuses to even attempt. Shout out to Angie, though. It's quite the talent, if you ask me, and I guess we'll see what happens with these wrestlers in the future there. And now, moving on, more retros. Obviously, these news videos, very heavy with all these retro third-party companies. There's a lot going on, but one of the best ones out there, Grapplers and Gimmicks, this week announced the Man Mountain Rock, Max Payne, whatever you want to call him. Apparently, he's coming to Grapplers and Gimmicks there. Him and I went to the same college. We also have the same last name, but we are not related. Not related, but that figure is coming probably later this year, where I said Zombie the Headhunter's probably next year. Zombie or Grapplers Gimmicks Mitch will get these out this year. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. He also teased Damien Demento. Of course, another deep cut, but that seems to be his niche, that area there, and it's working for him. So I don't fault him for getting Damien Demento. Would love an elite-style Damien Demento in the future. We talk about Zombie Sailor in his 6-inch scale. I hope Mitch can get his 6-inch scale flowing sooner rather than later as well. Now we turn our attention over to more retros with KWK. February 1st, the 1/100 Rene Dupree. Going to have a special Rene Dupree. A lot of the Resistance figures coming very soon. There's also a big sale for Chinese New Year going on. Save up to 15%. Got to get the deal. You know how that goes. He also teased in the image a red Max Moon. So it'll be interesting to see when this goes up for pre-order, what the story is from that. We talked about last week. He's going to make retros more affordable, it looks like. Can't wait to see where this all ends up going. There's a lot of buzz in the collectors community about this one. So we're going to stay tuned to KWK and see what they're up to there. We also saw WrestleFed. So another one we've talked about before. Still nothing in hand yet. They did show off their British Bulldog figure, which looked very, very interesting. Looks very, very good. Gonna wait and see where this one ends up going and who else they might end up signing into this line there. But it looks like a very fun one with the Bulldog from Wrestling Feds. And then the last piece of retro news, retro overload. I've said it before, I said it last year. There's only so much the consumer can take. You're talking niches of niches of niches. And you know what happens to niches? They get stitches. That's what I've heard as well, and among many other rhymes you can do. But Latuni back in the saddle again like a young Aerosmith this week. I actually got the Latuni LJN style Macho Man just in the mail, so we'll have that in weekly purchases and unboxed on the channel. Very anxious to dive into that one. But Latuni this week, they did show off again the Ric Flair LJN. Ric Flair stripping down in WCW back in the day. Head sculpt looks a little missed to me. I mean, once again, until you get in your hand, you can never really tell for sure. But it does look very Charles Robinson-esque to me. Maybe that's just me. But it's a very cool one. It's a deep cut one, and I appreciate deep cut like stuff like that. So we'll wait on that one there. But speaking of deep cuts, he did it before with the LJN style with Andre the Giant. Now he's doing it in the retro Hasbro style. We got 3 different versions of Andre the Giant. Of course, you get the Brother Love one. You get a regular plain Jane Andre the Giant without face paint, and then you get another one with face paint as well. So 2 face painted Andres, a regular Andre. To me, the face painted ones trump the regular one. Obviously, we had him in the past for Hasbro. It'd be nice to get more Andres. Of course, Zombie Sailor gave us Andres as well. I love that these are different with the face paint. Now, his regular one, to me, it doesn't look as good. I think the face paint hides some stuff, and it's so different. However, if you're an Andre fan, you got 3 opportunities for Andre, plus a couple of opportunities in the LJN style. So Latuni coming up Andre, coming up Macho, coming up Ric Flair, coming up heavy hitters. So shout out to them over there. I know sometimes people are joking in some of the Facebook groups and stuff, but if you checked out the unboxing of their retro Macho Man on this very channel, it was an amazing figure. I put it in my top 10 list at the end of last year. Very good. Definitely blew away my expectations. I am fully assuming the Macho Man LJN I have will blow away my expectations. So Latuni not to be messed with, I guess you would say. It's just how many legs do these have with all these other retro companies? And, you know, price sells cars and also quality sells cars. So depending how they go, it could be a very interesting retro game to get more interesting in 2025. But we're not done. And as Jerry Reed always says, we've got a long way to go and a short time. We've got a short time to get to the end of this video. Got a couple of follow-ups before we get to the album of the week here. But this week, Last Ronin NECA, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, of course. The only NECA announcement this week, really, was Grandma April. I'm calling her Grandma April from The Last Ronin. Old, beaten, weathered down April. She's got 2 of those little turtle Rugrats with her. Quite the April O'Neil figure, but coming to the Last Ronin line. It really feels like NECA 2025 is going to be the year of the Last Ronin. I know some people are saying, well, that's great for me. Put the wallet back in the pants because I don't collect Last Ronin. But a lot of stuff coming from Last Ronin, as we see. Some stuff at Walmart right now. If you saw my figure hunt this week, a lot going on in the NECA Last Ronin lines there from NECA. And NECA all over the place, had all kinds of crazy shipping issues. Some of these things are being worked out. I did send them an email where a lot of people aren't getting emailed back. Took them about 2.5 weeks. They finally did answer my email and said, well, we've shipped your item. And I responded back, yeah, I got it a week ago. So I don't know what's going on over there with the NECA shipping department, but hopefully it's on the positive end instead of more negative, as we've heard over the last couple of months there. And last but certainly not least this week, good friend of the channel, Todd McFarlane on the couch. Todd, blowing kisses to you. Oh, he caught it with his toes. Todd, a player all the time. Todd had a lot of fun. We unboxed on the channel the Joker, the Murray Franklin Show talk show set, the $250 most controversial set of all time. Well, maybe not that controversial, but a lot of people negative down on that one there. Todd, I absolutely love it. I wish the price point was cheaper. I wasn't a big fan of all the ancillary items to it. I wish it was just more of the meat and potatoes. I could have done without the figures even, but it is what it is. I understand licensor approvals, licensees, WB, all this kind of stuff goes into the price. It is what it is. You vote with your wallet at the end of the day. But I tell you what, me playing around with it, after I got done with the video, I was like, I didn't feel like it was worth it. But the more I play around with it, the more fun I have. Check out my Instagram. Check out the pictures I posted. There is more hours of playtime fun with this talk show set than probably anything else in my collection. This could, by the end of things, be really worth like $1,000 to me because I'll have so much fun over the next few years doing the Kyle Peterson show and having Alf as a guest, having Rio as a guest. Todd McFarlane, my first guest, of course, had a riveting talk with Count Chocula. There's so much stuff you could do with this one. I would love to get a 3D printed sign for like Kyle Peterson show to go over the Murray Franklin thing. I would like to add some pieces to this, as I love old school talk shows. I think it would be a very cool thing to do. So I'm really getting a lot of fun and enjoyment out of it. I'm not fun with the $250 price point, but man, when I think about how many hours of entertainment I'm going to get out of this thing, I've spent more money on worse stuff. Let's be honest, we probably all have out there. So obviously I know a lot of people, it's priced, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. But man, there is a silver lining in this thing a little bit if you're into this kind of stuff. And once again, you like what you like, you don't what you don't. We say it all the time on the channel. But it could be a bit of a sleeper one in 2025. And we'll see. Will it go on clearance? What? Todd McFarlane? No. And we talked about that in the video. Todd said there may be a Frostbite edition going to GameStop of the Murray Franklin show. So it's going to be all iced over, translucent plastic. It'll be the Antarctica Kyle Peterson show on that one. But that one's going to be $500. Ooh, but limited. More limited? Oh, okay. What about glow in the dark? What? Oh, Todd, what? Oh, man. Todd, give me an exclusive. I can break the news right now. Oh, Christmas time, Amazon. Amazon Christmas time. The Murray Franklin show set, glow in the dark edition. Yes, glow in the dark. Now we can put our glow in the dark figures there. Writes itself, folks. What? A sketch edition Murray Franklin show for San Diego Comic-Con? Look at that. A sketch edition. Not a huge fan of the sketch editions. Gotta tell you that one right there. And then what? You're looking at a McFarlane Store exclusive black and gold edition, kind of like you do all those other figures. Okay, all right. Well, it sounds like there's a lot of meat on the Murray Franklin bone, so stay tuned to that on the channel here in the future. But the last bit of news from Todd McFarlane this week, 2 bits of news here. February 5th, the McFarlane Toy Show back again on YouTube. Very cool of the McFarlane team over there to talk to the audience in the chat and all that kind of stuff. They're doing those about monthly going forward. I think it's a good way to connect with the audience and show off some new stuff, get some pre-orders up, the usual rigmarole we talk about there. So mark your calendars, February 5th coming in hot. And then this week, we did get 3 pre-orders from McFarlane Gold Label figures. We got Icon, first time in the line right there. Dark Flash, feels like we've had so many reverse Dark Flashes, I don't even know. My head's spinning like Flash is running around me at this point. And then we got the old school cartoon era of Superman, way back in the Fleischman, is that what it's called? The Fleischman Superman, up for pre-order right now. Head over to DJC Collectibles, use discount code Kyle, save 50%, all in-stock items, or get your pre-order in there as well. But that's what's coming in hot from Todd and the boys this week in the toy news. And that's a busy toy news, very retro heavy this week, but we're not done with the video yet. We got to turn over to Album of the Week. All right, let's bring it home like a young Jerry Reed, and kind of like Jerry Reed, we're talking a little bit of country music here today. Album of the week, a deep cut just released, not going to be for everybody. Probably most people in this audience, it's not going to be for it. But I've told you guys before, I love the Beatles. That's where I cut my teeth way back in the day, especially the McCartney, the Harrison, and the Ringo Starr solo years. Yes, I'm not a huge John Lennon guy. Yes, I said it. Sacrilegious to some. I personally, this is my belief, and you guys are going to call me crazy. You guys always do. I prefer Ringo Starr's solo career over John Lennon's. Yes, you heard it here first. I do, and hear me out on this one. All of Ringo Starr's 70s albums were full of George, John, and Paul. It was the closest thing you got to Beatles albums in the 70s. Some amazing tracks. He also had, I think, the first solo Beatle #1 album as well, in the old Ringo album back in the day. An all-timer. Love the 70s Ringo stuff. Love the 80s stuff as well. Definitely cool. Then you go into the all-star band stuff. 90s, 2000 to today. Ringo's still making music. So he's got about 50 more albums than John Lennon had on top of that. So that's one of the reasons. George Harrison, Paul McCartney, always going to be my favorite in that order. But we're talking Beatles today. We're talking Ringo Starr. We're talking about looking up with Ringo's new country album. Yes, Ringo gone country, but he's always been the country Beatle for the most part. Go back to him doing Act Naturally, the Buck Owens cover back in the Beatles days. So Ringo always had his country roots, and his voice lends himself to country roots as well. And this new album is Look Up. It is his new country album. He had one way back in the 70s as well. I don't know if it went over so hot back then, but he's always dabbled in some country stuff, and he's got a lot of country favorites, I guess you'll call it, guesting on the album. Billy Strings, new up-and-comer on there. A lot going on with Ringo. He's got his cowboy hat on. I'm still trying to find the perfect cowboy hat for me. One of these days, I'll find one of those. But if you like Ringo, it's worth checking out. This isn't an album I'm going to listen to a dozen times. I've already listened to it twice. I might give it one more spin. Time is money, my friends. But it is worth checking out, especially if you enjoy Ringo. And if you're somebody like me that's heard every single thing the Beatles have ever done, be it bootlegs, be it official releases, be it all their solo albums, you got to check this one out. You got to give it a spin for sure. And Ringo Look Up is the album of the week. And of course, interested to hear what your album of the week is, and also interested to hear your thoughts on the toy news this week. Anything you're excited for, let me know. Should we do clickbait titles? Should we do a bunch of clickbait stuff on the channel? Is that the way of the future? That's what I should do? Probably not. Probably not. But let me know your thoughts on the toy news this week. A lot of interesting stuff to dive our teeth into, of course. And of course, don't forget to subscribe on the channel. We're working our way to 50,000 subscribers. Need your help. Check it out if you have not. Check out my other YouTube channel. Videos every single day. Of course, the Patreon. 2 giveaways this month. You don't want to miss out on that. Of course, ProWrestlingTees.com. My book, The Complete Guide to the Jakks Class Superstars Series, available now. Now on TikTok, of course, check out my dance moves. SirPaul64 on the X, _Kyle_Peterson on Threads, Instagram, and that's it. I've said enough. That's it for another week. You know what I'm doing. I'm rocking and rolling, strutting and strolling my way into another weekend.